Hey there, welcome back to the Temple of the Holy Beard. It's great to have you here with us again today. Haven't made a video for a while, so please bear with me as I get back into the swing of things. This video is focused on news that's not in the news that you need to know. It's been a long time since I've made one of these videos, and a lot has happened since then, so I'm not going to try to recap on everything. But I will try to give you a little bit of brief background on it in case you haven't been keeping up with things. There's just been way too much going on for me to try to tell you everything, especially in just one video. So I've got a few topics here. Some are specifically to the United States. Some of them are Western, and some are world. So I'm going to try to go over it quickly and keep this short, but it is stuff that's good for you to be aware of. Some of it may sound a bit crazy, so I hope you got your tinfoil hat handy. Let's move on. Anyway, first article is you may not be aware, but the U.S. has suspended firearms exports temporarily, citing national security concerns that they could end up in enemy hands. Now, this hasn't happened since World War II, so that's a bit odd. Something you should be aware of. There's many reasons that they could do it. Of course, they're saying they don't want it to our enemies to get it, and this could be in response to reports that some of the weapons we left in Afghanistan are being used by Hamas in Israel. Um, there could be other reasons as well. Who knows? You come up with your own conclusion. Of course, certain allies are exempt. They're still open to sales going to Ukraine, of course, Israel, of course, as well as Canada, the UK, and a few others. So close personal friends, if you will. But this ban includes most civilian firearms, including semi-auto, bolt-action revolvers, shotguns, and of course ammunition that go along with it, as well as some optics, sights, scopes, whatnot, and other attachments. Pretty much anything that you'd find in a gun shop near you. Um, uh, and The government says this is to prevent our adversaries from getting a hold of it. Um, Yet at the same time, they're still sending billions of dollars in guns and ammo and other aid, um, some of which has been getting to our adversaries, such as food and first aid kits that have been found on Hamas militants recently during the Israel attacks. Um, Meanwhile, a first grader in Alabama was suspended from school recently for playing cops and robbers with a friend and using finger guns. So, yeah, no threats of violence or anything. These are just two kids playing around in the room. They both got in trouble, and at least one of them got suspended. Thankfully, this one in the end, it went up the chain. The parents wanted to have some talked with. They went all the way up to the school superintendent, who acknowledged that all they really needed to do was talk to the kid about it. So the suspension probably wasn't necessary. Hopefully, in the future, it'll go differently. But come on, people. I mean, this was something that was normal a generation ago, and now it's some taboo topic. But if you have children and grandchildren, whatever, maybe just err on the side of caution and have a talk with them, get ahead of it. You know, don't play like that at school. Don't play like that around other people. I don't, make sure you teach your children your beliefs, but at the same time also make sure that you're teaching them um, what's considered appropriate ways to act in other situations. I mean, a 5-year-old getting suspended over this is just ridiculous. But at the same time, there was no harm going on. There's just the concern, considering all the mental health issues going around, that maybe when they grow up, things will get worse. Who knows? Anyway, like I said, err on the side of caution, have a talk with your kids, and let's try to prevent this from happening. Um, Moving on. In Texas, there's a new bill going on in Texas, was introduced following the mass shooting at the elementary school in Uvalde back in May of 2022. Um, so this bill being introduced, third graders will be taught battlefield trauma, essentially basic first aid in combat zones, being taught to third graders. What do you think about that? Um, Part of this, schools also have to install what they call bleeding stations with medical supplies to be used if needed. Um, in the event that something does happen. Now, pushback about this was uh, the rep that introduced it said, that if the children in Uvalde had been trained and had first aid kits, maybe they could have helped each other out, and it may not have been as bad. I don't know, but there's nothing wrong with preparing for the future, and first aid and medical training is good for everybody. Like I said, in Uvalde, most of the students were 9 and 10 years old, so they're right around the same age. What do you think is the right age to start teaching your children first aid? Let me know in the comments. Um, Other Texas reps are looking to expand this bill to include requirements for students to begin training in 7th grade on how to stop bleeding, use tourniquets, apply chest seals, and compression bandages. Um, Now, again, it might seem a little excessive to be teaching your children about this because you're preparing for a bad situation, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with having the knowledge on how to respond to an emergency. Hopefully, they never need it. Hopefully, it's never needed again. But it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Um, And so, reading about this had me thinking about some of the training you hear about children in China and Russia, North Korea receiving. But is that really a bad thing? Um, so, putting images like that is enough to make some people push away simply out of spite. I don't want to be like them, so we're not going to do that here. However, again, like I said, hopefully this education is never needed. Um, but it's better to have it and not need it. If it's needed just once, it saves one person, then it's well worth it. And you never know. Some of these children receiving this training may enjoy it. They may go on to become EMTs or doctors. Um, who knows? Corpsmen in the military. Who knows? Sometimes it's just the exposure that helps to show a child that they enjoy it and they want to do something as they grow up. I mean, hell, we've got a shortage of nurses right now in the country, so a little bit of first aid training might open up the door for a few more nurses. If you like this idea, I suggest you take a little bit of time to give your own training. Don't wait for this to come to your child's school. Don't expect the schools to teach your child for you. If you think they need to know, give them your own training. If you know a little bit of first aid yourself, sit down with them. Every child should know how to put on a Band-Aid. They should know how to clean a wound, whatnot. They should know what supplies you have around the house and how to use it. They shouldn't be completely dependent on you. If they scratch their knee, they should be able to clean it up themselves. This goes beyond that, of course. But the same thing, it's in your best interest to have a hefty first aid kit around just in case you do need it. And so, if you have the supplies, you might as well teach them how to use them. Again, hopefully they never need it. Hopefully, hopefully nobody ever needs it. But if they do, it's really good that they have it. I mean, they might be stitching you up. You just cut your leg outside. You know how to do it. You might not need to go to the emergency room. Emergency rooms are packed as it is. Be your own first responder. Anyway, there are a lot of places around that give programs. Check with your local firehouse or emergency station. If you have paramedic stations, see if they offer training. A lot of them do, and oftentimes it's free or it's a donation. Um, Otherwise, the American Red Cross provides training, and there's probably something in your area. Also, check with your friends and your family if you know somebody who's a paramedic or an EMT, or was in the past, or a nurse, or a doctor, a veterinarian, anybody with any kind of medical condition. Maybe sit down and see if they'll do a little class, get the family together and do a little bit of training, because pass the knowledge around, help each other, talk about scenarios and what you might do in those scenarios. And like I said, show everybody where you keep your first aid kit, show them what's in it, and make sure they know how to use what you have. If nothing else, it's a good bonding experience. But if you like the idea of the schools teaching it, I highly suggest that you reach out to your rep, your congressman, your senator, your school board, and suggest that they include the training in your schools, because there's a lot of benefits to it. So anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Are we jinxing ourselves by doing training like this? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, moving on. In world news tonight, out in Israel, hope you've been paying attention to what's going on there, at least know the basics of it. Yesterday, October 30th, 2023, and I haven't confirmed this yet, so all I can say is allegedly, WikiLeaks released an internal memo from the Israeli Defense Force that suggests that Israel is planning to expel all Palestinians from Gaza, regardless of their affiliation with Hamas or not, and push their resettlement into the Egyptian Sinai area. So what does that mean? That means that Israel is fed up. They got attacked, and they are not happy with it. And instead of pinpointing the specific people, and you could say they've got good reason, they're just assuming that everybody is untrustworthy, and they want to get them as far away as possible. So this memo, like I said, it's hearsay at this point, but they may not be happy simply getting the attackers. They may not be happy just quelling the violence. They may want to send the good people with the bad people out of the area. So be watching the news for that. If you aren't aware of what's going on in Israel, I suggest that you do a little bit of research on it, but don't trust everything they say. There's a lot of bad information that's going around there. You feel free to reach out to me and discuss it if you'd like. Happy to take that offline. And I'll do videos in the future talking a little more about what's going on to try to bring you up to speed. But like I said, I highly suggest that you not only research the key points that people are talking about or the news is putting out, but also research the history of the area. How did the Gaza Strip come to be? How did it get set up the way that it is? And read as much as you can about it before you make a decision. Put a lot of long thought into it. Come to your own decision, your own opinion. There's a lot of people all over the world right now that are protesting, or they're doing rallies for one side or another, for one cause or another. And if you actually know the history of what's going on over there, some of those supporters just don't make any sense. People over here that are pushing for one thing or another that would absolutely not be allowed there. I don't want to get too into that right now for various reasons, but like I said, just do your own research on that. I might do a video in the future. I might talk about it more in others. I don't know, but don't jump to conclusions. There's a lot of people that are just adding fuel to the fire, and it, I don't know, might not be good. Don't get caught up in that. Stay with actual truth. Moving on. North Korea. yesterday, I believe it was, Kim Jong-un, the president of North Korea, I believe president's his title, he's ordered that all national food reserves be replenished by November 30th as a top priority. Quote, top priority. If you don't know, North Korea stores a year's worth of food for their military in case of a disaster or war. And they store 3 months worth of food for their civilians, for enough food for 3 months for all of their population to eat. Um, Unfortunately for them, they had to tap into the supplies recently because of drought, and harvests didn't yield what they needed to, so they had to pull from that supply. So it's been on the low side recently. Um, and but so they're pushing as their top priority now, by November 30th. So that's roughly 1 month, to refill their supplies. So why the rush? Um, and so you may or may not be aware that North Korea and Russia recently entered into an agreement, a few agreements, I'm sure, where North Korea is going to be supplying Russia with ammunition and artillery rounds and whatever else. And in as part of that, Russia will be supplying North Korea with food. So the assumption is, put two and two together, that North Korea is going to get a lot of the food that they need to fill up their stockpiles from Russia. Is that a bad thing? Probably not. But you may wonder, their harvest this year wasn't enough. They could replenish their own food themselves, so they're doing trade with their allies. Um, so that's where North Korea is going to be getting the extra food. I'm sure they're getting it from other countries as well, but it just kind of goes to show the connection, the bond that the two countries have made. In the past, North Korea was pretty much standalone. They didn't really interact with anybody. But in recent years, they've been creating a good connection, good friendship with a number of other countries. Russia is one of the newer ones, I guess you could say. China and North Korea have been building a rapport quite a bit in the recent years. And add to that, Iran is also another one that they're a really good connection with, and as well as a number of other countries also. So just spend a little bit of time looking up BRICS, BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China. It's essentially, what I'm referring to is the axis is NATO. It's their group where the other countries, number of countries, are getting together and they're creating their own alliances. It all started off as business, for imports, exports. They're buying from each other and whatnot, and it's been growing pretty significantly. I've been watching it for a few months now, and I suggest that you at least get a little bit of familiarity with what's going on. I'll do a video talking about it a little bit in the future, and put it all into perspective. But there's a lot going on in the world right now, and it's stuff that we should be keeping an eye on so that we can, I don't know, do whatever we can do to kind of prepare ourselves. There's a lot of countries that are either at war right now, or preparing for war, or picking a side right now, and tensions are getting warmer and warmer. So, as I mentioned about the medical training, there's a little thing that you can do to prepare yourself. If things come over here, then the emergency rooms are going to be flooded. I mean, sure, hospitals could even be shut down. But something as simple as an earthquake or a hurricane or a tornado or whatever natural disasters you have in your area is enough to overwhelm the local hospitals. And like I said, you cut your leg, maybe you would normally go to the emergency room just to get a few stitches and a bandage. But in the event of a tornado, that may not be an option, or you're going to have to drive pretty far. So if you know basic first aid and you have the supplies, that you can use to clean the wound, close it up, then maybe you don't need to. You know, you can do a lot by yourself if you just have the knowledge. And so, you know, look into things like that. It's just, you know, the reason I talk about things that are going on in the world is not to scare you. It's to emphasize the knowledge and training that we should all have, just to be ready to do for ourselves, to do more for ourselves. Um, you know, and at a minimum, you know, to stop the bleeding, to do the emergence, the immediate immediate response, to keep yourself in a better condition while you get to emergency medical services. You know, so you might get hurt, and being able to do something really quick to, you know, to patch it up, to stabilize, you know, could mean all the difference. You know, if you can add 10 minutes, if you can do something to yourself that adds 10 minutes to help you get to the emergency room, that's huge. And like I said, you know, if you're able to do it yourself and you don't need to go to the emergency room, all the better. You know, you talk about, you know, you hear stories about people that go to the emergency room because they cut themselves and they're waiting 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours just to be seen for a couple of stitches. And you think, oh, that's ridiculous. It's just a stitch. Well, it's that minor in comparison to the other people that they're treating. So if you can do that minor stuff yourself, that's one less thing that they have to worry about. Now, of course, you also want to make sure that you know how to identify an infection. You know, is you know, you might still need some medications. So don't sit at home and, you know, push your luck too badly. So it's more than just being able to put a band-aid on. There's a lot of knowledge that you should have as just the basics. You know, the basics is still a lot. But I'm rambling, and so I just wanted to get this video out today for a couple hot topics, get you thinking about stuff like this. And as I said, I'm planning to get back into the swing of things, making more videos on a regular basis. So I hope you're tuning in and ready to watch them when they're out there. Again, I'm Pastor Dave from Temple of Holy Beard, and it's great to have you here, and look forward to seeing you again in the future. Take care.